Nate, there's been more footage, recent footage released of, well, it may or may not be an alien craft, but certainly some interesting footage, officially from the US government and everything, you'll see, from the US military and stuff, showing, well, to be most generous, sort of an ambiguous craft. Now, whether it's an actual alien thing or not, we can have a look at it in a minute. So this news dropped in and around the time that Charlie Kirk was murdered. So it didn't really get any, well, it didn't get any traction in those few news cycles. And since then, it's sort of fallen out of the news cycle a bit. But I'm always interested in these things. One of the first things I'll say is I'm not sort of a UFO. I don't think I'm a UFO tinfoil hat wearer person, but I do have an open mind. I don't think it's completely impossible that we have been visited. I've written an article or two about it before. I've talked a little bit about it once or twice before in videos and things. Now, where my background is history and politics, but first and foremost history, that one of the main tenets of being a half decent historian or looking into historiography, the nature of history itself, is like a bullshit filter, right? That to put it kind of plainly, that's one of the main skills that you have to kind of nurture, is trying to find out what is real and what is not real, what's nonsense, what's made up. And when you don't know, or you're not able to know definitively, then start playing the game of, well, okay, what's more likely to have been true, right? That is sort of what historians, particularly medieval or ancient historians, where you haven't got lots and lots and lots of evidence, that is really what it is. So it sort of, hopefully, if you're any good, it sort of puts a fine edge on your blade for cutting up between what's bullshit and what isn't. Okay, so having said that, when there's all sorts of UFO bits of footage, like the Tic Tac, Commander Fravor's Tic Tac, various bits of footage and various bits of evidence that have come out, which are very, very hard to just dismiss. This is a new one that's one of those. So again, we'll look at it in a moment. But before we go on, what have you got any thoughts or feelings, particularly about the unidentified aerial things that are around?
Yeah. So I take my approach to alien life and UFOs is more one of a cross between critical thinking and philosophy. If we as humans reject the notion that there is other life forms in the universe, in the cosmos, how unbelievably arrogant are we? How incredibly arrogant are we just to outrightly dismiss the possibility of intelligent life in the universe aside from us? Now that's a kind of hubris that I can't reconcile with. I absolutely can't. And I can't abide anyone that does. I think it's a moronic outlook to have from a philosophical standpoint, right? You know, it's a bad character trait to have. But it also it flies in the face of, I guess, just basic rationale and critical thought. Logic dictates that, you know, the percentile chance of us being the only intelligent life form out there, it would be so infinitesimal. You know, the chance of it would be so infinitesimally small that there has to be someone else. There has to be. Now, whether they visited here or not is another thing entirely.
Right.
I would argue, in terms of UFOs, that the likelihood of the sightings being from another planet earlier on, you know, like, you know, the sort of earlier reports and things like that, I would probably argue is has a higher chance of it being, US based experiments, flight experiments, craft experiments, things like that. I don't know, maybe something along those lines. But more and more, there are what appears to be quite highly credible reports from quite high up people in military, combat, forces, things like this. And it becomes more and more difficult to reason with what they're saying as just nonsense. So there's my thoughts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with nearly everything you said, or basically everything you said. Yeah, if space is infinite, then it is a mathematical certainty that there are other intelligent civilizations, not just other life forms, not just bacteria, but civilizations. If space is infinite. But whether there's any others even in our galaxy, let alone in nearby galaxies, does seem that advanced life is extremely unlikely to occur, right? We just happen to live on a planet which is like perfect for life as we know it. So okay, all those sorts of things. You could go on and on and on about this. I watch, one of the things I do and watch other than history and politics themed stuff is space themed stuff. I've got 4, 5, 6 different channels that I watch loads. I like Anton Petrov. Hello, wonderful person. That's what he always says. That's his catchphrase. Love that dude. Event Horizon, brilliant channel. They have like some of the world's leading scientists on there very, very regularly. I love Astrum, another big channel. Anyway, point is, I'm a little bit of a space nut. But yeah, you have to remain cynical. The UAP phenomenon, unidentified aerial phenomenon, they don't call them UFOs anymore. That's a bit old hat. Yeah, whether we have been visited by advanced craft from another world is absolutely not proven at this point. Absolutely not proven. I'm not saying that. I would suspect that basically maybe all of the unidentified aerial phenomenon are American secret projects, certainly over Groom Lake, Area 51, people in Nevada, in the sort of the wider Las Vegas region and around there that have over the years said they've seen all sorts of unidentified things in the sky. Yeah, it's probably American projects, but okay, but that doesn't explain all of them though. Like I mentioned earlier, there was the Tic Tac incident with Commander Fravor. He's been on Joe Rogan since and stuff, where they tracked a Tic Tac shaped craft. And when I say they, I mean the US Navy and the US Air Force. And it was tracked by fast jet pilots, more than one fast jet pilot. It was tracked by their onboard electronic surveillance equipment. And the pilots themselves saw it with their own eyeballs, the Mark 1 eyeball. And also off the aircraft carrier that was there. I think it was off the west coast of the United States, off the coast of California or whatever. And that it was tracked with a number of different, more than one piece of, hardware, software, was tracked. So it was a real thing. It was definitely there. It was certainly a Tic Tac shaped craft that did crazy things that we don't know about. Now, okay, so all that being said, there's been a thing over the years called the Disclosure Project. In fact, back in 2001, just before 9/11 happened, the Disclosure Project was starting to get off the ground, where that guy Greer, he's a little bit woo-woo, but he's also a very, very interesting person, was trying to get together loads and loads of whistleblowers from the Pentagon, people that are generals and colonels and all sorts of very serious people, congressmen and ex-senators and stuff, to all come together and give evidence of what they know. Okay, but that was years ago. So now, though, after the Tic Tac incident, the United States government has come out, and it was a while ago, it was like 2-3 years ago or something. They've come out and they would say openly in front of the Senate or whatever, in front of a congressional committee, they would say, yes, there are UAPs and we can't explain it. It's not us. we know everything we're doing. I mean, unless it's complete so what's the word? Sort of
Covert.
yeah, it's so covert and secret that even we don't know what we're doing, which is possible, I suppose. But nonetheless, the US military went before its own government and said there are unidentified aerial phenomenon and it's not us, but we don't know what it is. We're not prepared to say it's from another world because there's no definitive proof of that. But it's certainly unexplained, unidentified, certainly. So okay, so that's the story. That's where we've been standing for the last few years. And so this latest thing that came up, I mean, let's play this clip, see what you think.
I've had it. Enough is enough. I want to cue up a video that I've been given. And as before it starts, I'm going to describe. This was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone, and so I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does.
Looks like it's moving reasonably fast. I mean, it could be a parallax effect, but it does look like it's moving reasonably fast across the ocean, and sort of round object. And from the sort of the top of the footage, you see something coming. Well, a drone. Oh no, sorry, a Hellfire missile. That's a Hellfire missile. Pause it for a sec. Oh, actually, can you rewind it just a little bit? Yeah.
As it strikes.
Yeah. And then pause it. So if you can see, it looks like it either hits it or it comes very close to it. Some people saying it sort of went through it, that the Hellfire missile, you do sort of see something carry on down. And that if you can see there, 3 little bits come off of it. And they're now behind it. 3 other smaller fragments come off of it and still keep flying behind it. Can you see that? You can see that, right?
Yeah. You can go frame by frame and just watch them.
So whether the Hellfire missile actually went through it, or that's just what it kind of looks like, but it did actually impact it, or whether it didn't impact it at all, but it does look like 3 little fragments, at least, come off of that object and keep flying along behind it. And anyway, if you just play it from here on out now. It doesn't take it out of the sky. They all keep on flying. And this is footage after that Hellfire.
This is when it zoomed out. So you can still see it traveling.
There you go. Okay, you can stop playing the clip now. That's basically it. Right, so I'm not prepared to say that what we've just witnessed is something from another world. But it is unidentified. Like, what was that? Like, that is a bit odd. There's got some questions. I've got questions. Well, everyone has. So
yeah.
So I don't know. I just think it's worth, when stories like this come up in the news, I think they're worth covering. I think they're very, very interesting. Like potentially some of the most interesting things that we could talk about is the possibility of, well, it's got to be one of 3 things, right? 1, it is an alien craft from another world, right? 2, it's an advanced craft built by the United States or Russia or China or someone like that. Or 3, we're just completely confused and it isn't anything to do with that, and just the footage is completely misleading, and it's something like a bird. That's actually, well, people say stuff like this. Thunderfoot, Blunderfoot said that about the Tic Tac. He was like, oh, it's clearly like a bird. It's obviously like a goose flying along, and it's only the parallax effect which makes it look like it's going crazily fast. And it's only the fact that we're watching it through a particular type of electronic surveillance device that you can't clearly see the outline of a bird and its flapping wings, but it is there. And so some people try and say things like that it's quite easily explainable in various ways. So one of those 3 things is going on. But I always find these things interesting and worth at least having a quick look at.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, they are. These kind of things are potentially some of the most interesting that you could cover and possibly look at, and that was certainly unusual.
Because that's the US government there, right? That's not just some YouTuber, like UFO YouTuber person who wants to believe so hard that they sort of making things up, saying things that aren't there, really stretching it. No, that is the US government saying, look at this crazy bit of footage where a military drone shot a Hellfire missile at something we can't identify, and it split off into bits, but then kept going. What? Really? Really? And that they're openly talking about it, right? It seems like things like that have happened from way back when, from the war, from the 1940s. But it would never ever get discussed in public. There would only be a few military people that would ever get to really hear about things like that. But now they're sort of, well, as you can see, just openly questioning it. And well, I find it fascinating, that's all.